Hello, everyone. So, today I have some footage from a cosplay photo shoot that I did over the summer with my friend Allie. So, I plan on doing some more videos on my photo shoots, but these take a bit more time, so that's why it's been pretty quiet for a while. I haven't forgotten about the channel, it's just very time consuming to edit both the photos from the shoot as well as the live footage because this shoot took somewhere in the ballpark of about 3 to 4 hours just on location. And, as you can see, I had to also have a friend recording. My buddy Jacob was here with us. And it's very hard to coordinate all of this with so many people. So your patience is very much appreciated. Now, this was a very interesting shoot because during the day of the shoot, a lot of things went wrong. And as you can see from the footage here, there is no audio because the audio from the mics that we had, I had it clipped to my camera strap, and the waves were really, really loud, and the waves gave us a lot of problems. They almost knocked over the lights a couple times, and you can see it right here. I unfortunately didn't have any sandbags to hold it down, but the light itself, the way it was structured, was enough to hold it for the most part, while also not getting the main unit wet. So, kind of a win, but unfortunately, just the way the waves were moving was kind of pushing it around. And I'll have my camera settings up on screen throughout, so you'll see the unedited version, which is straight out of camera, and then some edited files here. One of the things that went wrong was primarily the weather. When we had originally planned this shoot, it was supposed to be cloudy. And that's actually really important because Ali made the decision to cosplay Makima because of the weather. And I haven't seen Chainsaw Man, but I know that it is pretty dark, and the reference images that she sent me had a very specific look. And because we had the weather not really working for us, we had to come up with some ways to the desired results in the editing room. And what that meant on my part is I had to shoot very flat, and you can kind of see that in the settings that I'm using. I'm using a very low ISO. I'm using very high shutter speed. I'm not stepped all the way down to wide open for my f-stop. There's a lot of things that we had to consider here. Luckily, for my camera brand Fujifilm, it doesn't really matter the film recipe I use because I can pick any one once I get into the editing room. And for this, I actually wasn't using my main camera because Jacob was using that. Jacob was using my Fujifilm X-T4 as our A camera, basically our only video camera, and it's equipped with my Atomos Ninja 5 so that I could get a little bit better footage as well as test a few things with it because I wanted to see if it would be easier for a camera operator who doesn't really have experience shooting with DSLRs and mirrorless to navigate that with the Atomos Ninja 5. And I think it came out pretty well. I gave him a rig. He's not on a gimbal or anything. He's pretty much just using my camera cage, which has a handle and just some extra odds and ends on it just to help add some weight to it. Fortunately, we didn't get the overcast weather that we needed for this. And overcast is a really good time to shoot something dark and moody. So we did have to get creative. And you can see that in the edits where they look so very different because I had to rely on the editing room. Again, it's not super crazy to get the results in post if you know what you're doing on location. And in this case, we knew what we had to do. We had to fight the sun. We had to get the images very flat. And that just means I had to adjust the shooting style for this. And I kind of credit this knowledge with having done some video work in the past and having that video background and being that I have to shoot very flat in order to color grade this effectively later. One of the things that I was very conscious of during this is I wanted to make sure that my highlights aren't too high or, God forbid, they're peaking. And like I mentioned, I'm shooting this not on my X-T4. I'm shooting this on the Fujifilm X-T3. And at this point, it is a older mirrorless camera, and the X-T3, while it is pretty close in specs to the X-T4, it is primarily just missing the fully articulating screen, which I actually was complaining about a lot because I am so used to shooting with that screen, and I really do not like um, the non-fully articulating screens. I really, really like when the screen can flip out because it's not just useful for video; it's useful for a lot of other things. But yeah, there wasn't much of a difference because the film simulations, the one that I needed, it was on the Fujifilm X-T3, and the one that I needed was going to be either Eterna or Classic Chrome because those are some of the more flat profiles, really good with getting some contrast in there. Uh, I usually use Classic Chrome for a lot of things. It's either that or Astia. So while we are shooting very flat, I will mention that we did, in fact, have some off camera flash. I was using two 80-200s in order to evenly light Allie during this because the sun was going to give some harsh shadows, and we're not trying to overpower the sun here. We're just kind of trying to even her out. We had the ambient light situation figured out. We had all of our settings pretty much dialed in right away. Um, Other than that, it was pretty easy. I'm not shooting my main lens, which is the Sigma 18 to 35 f1.8. God, I love that lens. It is one of the only reasons I would be very sad to transition to full frame. I've been considering that for a while. I love my Fuji films, I really do, but I'm starting to feel some of the limitations. And I really, really wish there was an equivalent lens of 18 to 35 f1.8 on full frame. That would be so good. I would shell out however much money I would need for that because this lens lives on my camera. And yes, I know it's technically like a 25 or something to 50, but it's still really, really good. I love it. And for this, I did kind of want to mention that I didn't have an ND filter because Jacob had that for the video because again, it's a very sunny day. So I, as you can tell, am stopped down to f3.2. I have a pretty high shutter speed at 1/3200. My ISO is at 80, which is not native. However, I did get the camera with that, so I'm guessing the previous owner, because I bought this used a while ago, had artificially lowered the ISO. Don't ask me how they did it, but yeah. So I didn't have a VND. In the ideal situation, I would have a VND for this. So working with Allie for this shoot was actually really great. I've worked with her a ton before. She's really awesome. She's very communicative, and she sent me some references of what she wanted, and I'm going to post those here. And a lot of these were to get the general vibe, and it was to get some pose ideas. I haven't read or seen much of Chainsaw Man. I've heard it's good. Jacob knows it better than I do, so he was actually a really great resource to have on this when he, was willing to tell me a little bit more. When he wasn't, of course, shooting, because he was a ways back there. He's shooting on my Viltrox 13 millimeters, so he could get close, but he could also be pretty far. And you'll probably notice throughout this that I am constantly helping Allie by showing the poses on my own body, or I'm re-showing the reference images. This is just really good to make sure that we have the correct posing that we need. Guiding the model is very important. And Allie is very good at posing on her own. A lot of times she doesn't need any of my directions. But you'll also see that I'm showing her the back of my camera, and she'll make adjustments after seeing, the first couple of shots. It's really important to be communicating with the model or whoever you're working with so that you guys can get the best results possible and you're not wasting time. A little bit of a time crunch because we had another shoot after this, which I will be making another video of, but that's coming later. And I'll be talking about a few other things there. So you might have seen throughout this video that, you know, we were not the only people at this beach, even though we got there super early. You know, you can see we had some of the lifeguards here. We had some other people just staring at us. They didn't start to become a problem till later, and we'll get more into that later in another video. But, it's been pretty hectic. So I've only seen a few anime lately because I've been working on stuff for the channel, even if I haven't posted anything. And from what I've heard, the manga is very short and the anime might not get a second season. I personally hate when that happens, so I might just read the manga. But back to the shoot, Allie was such a trooper for getting in the water the way that she did. It might not look it, but it was actually pretty cold for the summer. I think we're shooting in like 70 degrees Fahrenheit or 21 degrees Celsius. And as someone who was a swimmer and water polo player in high school and college, that is very cold because the water is probably colder than the surface temperature. So it's probably somewhere in like the 50 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 degrees Celsius. And our original plan was to shoot all of the dryland shots at once and then transition to the water ones. We saved the shots where Allie would be more submerged for the end for very obvious reasons. And in between shots, we did take some quick TikTok videos, so Allie has those. She'll probably put those up a little bit later. Please go give her a follow. Her link will be in the description. Our final shot here, which is Allie lying in the sand, was actually not pre-planned. It was kind of just something we came up on the spot. This was the last shot idea we had, and it kind of ended up working. And then we just called it a day. So, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have any questions, this is the first type of video we're doing on this, so I'd love some feedback. If there's anything you'd like to see in future videos like this, let me know. I'm more than happy to incorporate that. And give Allie a follow. Her Instagram is Allie Chu. I will have that linked down below so that you guys can find her very easily. She is a wonderful person. I've worked with her a ton, and I have a couple more videos featuring her and a few other cosplayers. So please give her a follow. And thank you so much for watching up until this point. Please leave a like and subscribe if this video was helpful for you at all, and I'll catch you guys later.